Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we'll be going through a deck that I have kind of fallen in love with, mainly because it features some of my favorite cards in the entire game, but I also think it's semi-decent as well. And, well, it's still a work in progress, I should say, but it is a Demacia Noxus list, and the first thing I want to say is that Demacia Noxus I actually think is in a pretty good state right now, and there's quite a few different ways you can build it. You can build it like this, which is probably a bit more of a slanted towards an aggressive list. You can build it in a sort of big boy 5 attack list, which is something that I'll probably be showcasing as well, because I think that's quite fun. Or you could go for the good old typical Demacia Bannerman type list with a splash of Noxus instead. All I think are viable options. This is the list that I've come up with that I think is quite fun to play, if not the most competitive, but I'm playing some of my favorite cards because I can. So let's go through the list. First we have Elixir of Wrath as a one-of. A very good combat trick against certain things, can often win games on its own or give you a more favorable trade, whether attacking or defending. Fleet Feather Tracker is probably one of the best 1 mana cards in the game, and probably is going to be a staple of any sort of Demacia list you are playing, particularly when you combine it with things like Bright Steel Protector, Legion Drummer, and War Chefs, all very solid 2-drop options to combine with the tracker. And single combat, of course, again a pretty staple card for any Demacia list. Then we have our two champions in Draven and Katarina. Draven obviously got buffed recently, as did Katarina, and is just a very solid 3-drop all round. And Katarina we have as a 2-of. Again, you never really want 3 of her, because of course her ability is to recall herself, so in theory you shouldn't need more than 2, and drawing a 3rd one or an extra one isn't that good, because Death Lotus isn't that good of a card, so it's just a 2-of. Then comes one of my favorite cards, Legion Marauder. This is a card that you might not have seen played, but every time you attack you grant all Legion Marauders 1/1, and when you combine this with some of our 2-drops like Bright Steel Protector or Legion Drummer or War Chefs, it really helps this card out, because as soon as it starts getting to a 4/3 and a 5/4, that's when it really starts doing damage. And becomes really hard for them to remove. And so when you combine that with our good 2-drops, this can become quite a little tool. Of course, the downside being that only 2 health when it first comes on the board before it attacks makes it a bit weak. Then we have Prismatic Barrier to help keep our things alive. Of course, Whirling Death. Riposte, we are playing quite a few tricks, as it's kind of, we do want to keep our things alive. We aren't just to sort of spread out. We are a bit more tall than wide, I would say. Whirling Death, of course, going very well with Draven as well. Then we have Kato the Arm, which obviously fits the sort of going tall rather than wide deck, obviously giving something 3/0 and Overwhelm, making things big and buff. It's really nice. And Swiftwing Lancer, of course, is a pretty solid 5-drop, probably again one of the best 5-drops in the game. Battering Ram is my favorite card in the entire game. I don't know why, but these cards that say attack and you give them stats just really appeals to me. And essentially this card is a one-of. Why is it a one-of? Well, actually it's a sort of a win the game button in certain matchups. If you aren't playing against stuff like Ionia, against Ionia matchups this card is fairly useless, but against stuff like Ezreal Noxus with Draven, they don't have a way to deal with this at all. They cannot deal with it unless they Thermo Beam it for 12, and at which point you're on turn 10 and 2 spell mana, or turn 9 with 3 spell mana, and they've wasted all of it on one card. You're probably in a decent spot anyway. So in certain matchups this card is just insane. They can't deal with it, it's just a win the game button. So that's why it's a one-off, but in other matchups obviously it's pretty bad. Tithri the Bold is probably the best 6-drop in the game, attack giving other things 1/1 and fearsome. And so that is the deck. We are going to go test it out now. As I say, it is one of my favorite lists. This is interesting. This is probably one where we're going to want a lot of our tricks because they're probably going to struggle to draw cards. So we're going to want stuff like single combat, I think. We could drop the Lancer though. We're attacking on 3, which means that our boy Legion Marauder will get a half decent attack. There's War Chefs. That's what you want with Marauder, really, above something like Bright Steel. Obviously, he's going to be playing for the long game. I am going to drop the War Chefs. And now on 3. I mean, he could be playing some sort of Frostbite. You never know. But I'm going to go with this. Avalanche? Surely not. Avalanche in a deck like this. Some people just it baffles the mind. It boggles the mind. Very interesting choice. Avalanche. Why would you ever play Avalanche in a deck like this? I don't know. Ah. There's a big Yeti. As I say, I think we're gonna want to... In fact, I'll do it with the... Feather Fleet? I'm gonna call him Feather Feet from now on. The Overwhelm will still go through, but obviously removing this Yeti could be quite important as he might be playing Tall Tales as well. It's very likely. And now we have a pretty good option here to give you Barrier. I just want to see what he's going to do first. Hearthguard is fine. We could go Cat, but I'm going to go for the Marauder again. And I'm going to try and weaken this as much as I can. Although I could just go face. I think let's do that. Oh my god. Okay, so I forgot to drag him there as we went through. That was just a mistake on my behalf in terms of the AI. Not AI, UI. Whoops. It does mean Katarina can kill this. But other than that, it's a big mistake. It's an interesting attack by him. So we'll go for Cythria now. Avalanche again? What is this guy playing? Okay. This guy. This guy. Seems to have very little grasp on what he should be playing, I think. Third Avalanche, by chance? Winter's Breath? What could it be? I have no idea. What could it be? I mean, this is lethal now. Oh, Harsh Winds. Some people. I doubt the one is going to kill anything he's playing. I mean, God knows what he's playing, right? He could be playing anything for all I know. I'm really quite annoyed that Challenger thing. I mean, it's my fault, but it's still quite annoying. Avalanche again? Swiftwing. Okay. Swiftwing's the Katarina. Yeah. So I think he was playing a sort of big deck with like a sort of control start with just big things at the end. Maybe even War Mother's Control, right? Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was a War Mother's deck. That makes sense. That makes sense, right? Does it? War Mothers with Demacia? I understand the sort of concept that you would want, you know, just a bunch of big things as we see Braum, Ezreal. So Frosty Ezreal, but with Braum. Braum is an interesting choice because obviously if he does level up, he does give you just a bunch of 3/3s that, you know, they sort of can't do much about. We definitely want the repost. We probably, I mean, he's playing Braum, so maybe we would want the Whirling Death. It's kind of an interesting choice. but we definitely want the repost. Always kind of interested to see what this will be. There is a Whirling Death anyway. Play our Legion Drummer. He plays a Sentry. I'm gonna go for Marauder and try and buff it up. He's probably got Mystic Shot. No? I mean, if this gets up enough, then forget about it. No Mystic Shot. And this block says no get excited either. I'm pretty fine with that, to be honest. I am A-okay with that. Back alley Barkeep. Okay. Again, it's interesting. I'm not sure it's good, but it's interesting. On 5, well, he's representing 8. I think that's a little too scary to be playing these things right now. So I am going to go with this. And, you know, we've got a good open attack here. This is now 5-4, so it should be doing quite a bit of damage. We're pushing 8 already. We've got the barrier and the repost in hand. Static Shock. So we'll use the barrier to kill the Barkeep. Second Static Shock. Okay. Well then we'll use the Whirling Death. Will we? Yeah, we will. We need to get rid of his blockers as much as we can. Obviously double static isn't ideal, but he is going to lose quite a bit of health. It was his whole turn as well, so we get that out of the way. We do have the repost and a single combat for anything he plays now. Counterfeit copies into Hearthguard. It's interesting. I'll take the 6. Don't really mind about that. And now I am more happy to play the second Swiftwing to push the extra damage. So it's going 3 on this, 1 on that, 2 on you. So I think let's just repost you. Give you 8 attack, and that should be lethal. It should be lethal because this will obviously survive, and 2 of these pose 13 damage. And, well, this is actually going to go up to 9. Yep, there you go. So we saw 4 wins there, and I think this deck does have something to it. Obviously, we weren't playing against the most competitive of decks, but I do think that this deck does have something to it. Tomorrow I'm probably going to come back with the 5 attack version of this deck that I have been working on. I'll give you a little sneak preview here, but I think Garen might be added to this list instead. But this was the deck we were playing, and it's something that I really enjoy, and I think Demacia Noxus is in a sort of position where you can build a lot of things with it. Thanks to the buff to Katarina, I think it's got extra juice. And so I would check it out. I've been Chris. Have a nice day.